Going, am I audible?
Yeah, you are. That's going well. How are you?
Perfect. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Mhm.
So, just to set context again, I know we had a conversation about this, but this is to help early stage founders understand how to set up a playbook, how to, what are the challenges in early stages of GTM, how can, what takes to set up the grunt work, right? Like, that there is no magic. A lot of AI startups are now pushing for automated GTM. Does it work or not? What is your experience on that? Right? Like just like your honest take, that would be like the whole thing. So if you're okay, I'm just gonna start recording the call and then we can proceed.
And you're gonna jot this down in the form of a post, like a posted interview, or is it like video, or is it text?
Okay. At this moment, going to be a lot of text.
Okay.
I'm recording the video anyway. Maybe once there's some disturbance from your side.
Okay. What are you hearing exactly? Tell me.
When you're talking, like your voice is modulating, like it's choppy.
Let me put these and see.
Or maybe just drop it and drop it. Be like this basic.
Yeah,
Like,
let's test with these first. Huh? Just give me 1 second. How is this? Any better?
Yeah, much better.
Okay. Okay.
So at this moment, currently I'm going for long form written articles, but I told myself once I cross 10 interviews, probably I'll hire an editor to make short form clips out of this also.
Makes sense.
Okay, so you will get the video. You can you can do what. I have no problem.
Also, thanks for accommodating 9:30 instead of 10.
Again, your voice is like getting choppy. Maybe it's an issue at my side.
Let me drop off and come back. Maybe. Yeah.
I'll drop in and drop out.
Yeah. Is this any better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So the call's been recorded. Anush, let's start this again. Thank you so much for joining me. First, under is an effort to help tech founders understand the problems with GTM, how to do GTM, and I saw your LinkedIn profile. We connected, I think, some time ago. Then I've been like seeing your comments, reading your posts. Very helpful for me to considering that I'm just about to start. I felt like, okay, if you can share your playbook, I know each startup is different, but I think the mechanics of GTM are somewhat similar, right? So what is your playbook, things around that will be really helpful. Again, thank you so much for this. Just to start off, where are you from? Did you get into GTM? What's your education background like?
Yeah, let me start from the very beginning then. I'm from Delhi originally. My family is based in Delhi. I was born and brought up there. For the first 25 years of my life, I stayed in Delhi. I have done my schooling from DBS Mathura Road, graduation from Bharati Vidyapeeth in Delhi. I'm a computer science engineer on paper. Yeah, which is why my very first job was related to my college engineering degree. So I was a software developer back in 2013. I used to go to Gurgaon and code in C++ for the first 1.5 years of my life. And that's when I think I figured out that it's not for me. And I wish if I have to jog my memory, I wish that the kind of AI coding exists today. I wish it existed back then, because I was someone who could code by looking at Stack Overflow. If you told me to code a game of chess, I couldn't do it from scratch. I didn't have that
programming.
I don't know, that programming in my brain maybe on how to go about it. But if you told me you need to code a program of chess and you have all the internet in the world with you, do whatever you want, I could give you the output basically. So that's how I used to go about coding. Which is why I think after 1.5 years, I figured out that this is not for me. How I wish I think my heart was not into it, if I have to be like very honest. My output was good. I had in fact gotten one of the bigger raises in the company because I was hired at a very junior salary, I remember. So all the odds were like working in my favor when it comes to doing the thing that I was supposed to do. It's just the way I was doing it, it didn't give me peace, it didn't give me pleasure, and it didn't excite me enough probably from the inside to continue. If
Didn't give you peace. Like what does that mean?
You know how you have a very peaceful night of sleep once you know that you have accomplished something during the entire day. Your head hits the pillow and you know that you can like rest in peace for the night and wake up a fresh morning next morning to go about all the things that you have to again. That's sort of a mental peace I'm talking about. So I used to always think, I think every single night that like, what am I doing? I mean, I clearly am only using things like Stack Overflow, other people's code and implementing it in our software. It's not that I am like building something from scratch or I have like an original thinking, original mindset to go about things. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't. I mean, that's the only answer I can give you. I just couldn't. Like, which is when I think soon decided that it was not for me. This thought had been brewing up in my mind for a while. It's like one random day that you have to take that tough decision, right?
So
Go ahead.
if I have to tap into that, right? Like most people get into the rat race, they get into that hamster wheel and they keep going. But what in your life gave you that space or like a mental framework to make that call so early in a job, right? Like
Great question. I can what I did not have, right? Which are the prerequisites actually for taking such a decision in your life. I did not have a financial cushion at all. In fact, my father passed away back in 2005 when I was like 13 or 14 years old. So we were not very. No, that's okay. We were not very financially well off as a family. It's not that we did not have like money to eat food or all. It took us a while to probably get back on our feet when it comes to finances because we had to do everything from scratch, everything from zero. This is why I think if I go a couple of years back, in college only I started throwing like math tuition to my kids in my colony, right?
wow.
I think that was the very first experience in my life of sales and marketing, if I have to go as far back as possible. What I used to do was I used to wake up very early in the morning, get hold of these newspaper guys, right? And print some pamphlets using like Microsoft Paint, design them myself, get those pamphlets printed in bulk from Kajikama Palace, and then like give like 100 rupees to the newspaper guy to just put the pamphlets in the newspapers and like send it across the entire colony. What I didn't know in technical terms, what I was doing was a distribution and marketing, right? The terms and like the terminology that's with very ease today. I didn't know what I was doing back then, but that if I look back, that's exactly what I was doing, right? I was reaching to the most relevant audience for my service at the most relevant time, using the most relevant piece, which was like a pamphlet, like a physical pamphlet. That worked wonders. In fact, I got a lot of kids to enroll. And with that money, at least what I used to do was I used to manage my own expenses back in college. So I almost never took a single penny from the house. Once I think passed my 12th standard. So I think it goes as back as that, as
Wow.
far back as that. Coming back to your question now, because I've like delved into that story. Now I need to like pull myself out. Coming back to your question, so the things that I didn't have was like a financial cushion or that very that clarity of thought in terms of what I exactly want to do. Didn't know. If I have to be very honest, I didn't know anything. Which is why I decided to join like a non-profit for a year. After that 1.5 year stint in my engineering. Rohit, are you still there? I think you're stuck.
I'm here.
Okay. So yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, so there was a small, am I audible? Clear? There was a small network issue. So I'm audible?
Yes, now you are. Now
So you were mentioning that you had joined a non-profit. Which non-profit?
yes, it's called Sounds of Silence Foundation. It used to work for the hearing and speech impaired people using mobile phones and text. So hearing and speech impaired people always communicate with like sign language, and there are different forms of sign language. So Indian sign language is very different from like American sign language, although the like structure and the bones and skeleton is the same, but it differs from like country to country. For example, like remember this is thank you in Indian sign language. This is sorry. I did all the letters as well. But we were trying to bring a change in terms of how we can make this communication better using mobile phones so that these hearing and speech impaired folks can communicate with the outside world. Because the outside world won't take the effort of learning sign language. But these folks can use mobile phones and WhatsApp and text messages in order to communicate. And we were working on contact center to place these kids in jobs that people would want to probably outsource. So kind of like an outsourced PPO, if you will. Spent a year there, and I think that 1 year, again, if I look back and connect the dots, that 1 year was my like mini MBA, if you will. What is MBA? MBA, as far as I know, I've not done one. But as far as I understand, it's not a course. I think it's a way of life for a couple of years, which puts you in an ecosystem where you are not with like-minded people. In fact, where you are with a very diverse crowd, and you get into that ecosystem to learn bare bones of how businesses work, right? And that involves communication with your colleagues, that involves a lot of case studies, that involves lectures, that involves, I don't know, assignments, tests, examinations, whatnot. Right? That's, I think, all the exposure that is you can get in a MBA course. I think that's what I got in that 1 year of Sounds of Silence, because I had to build everything from zero, which means marketing, sales, fundraising, HR, team, then the contact center that we were building, and then the training aspect of the hearing and speech impaired folks. So it's like a mini business, right? It's like a one-person business that you're starting. You had to like lay the foundation stones of the Delhi chapter. The chapter was running in Bombay, but I had to establish the Delhi chapter. Training the hearing and speech impaired people every single day, hiring interns, hiring volunteers, learning how to go about doing a business when you have no funds because it was a non-profit. Raising funds from scratch, right? Like going to these malls to sell merchandise and t-shirts and doing some fundraising activities. That gave me, I think, a lot of exposure, something I couldn't even imagine that all of this is possible. And that also, I think, also gave me exposure to what lies out there in the world. So my view of the world was very limited because of where I was in my job and the kind of, I think, upbringing and everything I had done till the first 24 years of my life, right? Yeah. I didn't know much about the world. I didn't understand much about the world. And I did not also have a lot of means to understand it. Google was there, search engines were there. But again, you remember the pre-AI era, right? When you have to really
put the effort.
Yes, you really have to sit down and see what is the truth, what is not, which like links are relevant, which content is relevant about it. And reading only gives you so much knowledge, it doesn't give you exposure. Right? So I did not have the means, if I have to be honest, right? This 1 year course, I think this 1 year for me with Sounds of Silence, like that shaped me a lot. That changed me.
What were your top learnings from Sounds? Handle like sales, marketing, HR, fundraising? That's a lot of work for any individual. So what were your top learnings, and did they play any role in your now that we are looking back? Did it play any role in your current approach towards life?
It absolutely. I mean, that was like a foundational change kind of a year for me. In terms of learnings, I think most of the learnings were in terms of, how in our mythology, Shiva is supposed to have that third eye, right? which when opens, I'm not very well versed with the mythology, but a good analogy would be that it gave me, I think, a very different and new point of view, hence to see the world. That was the major change because I had zero understanding of anything apart from coding and C++ and my math tuitions. That's the three things I knew about. And even in my job, I didn't have the kind of personality, I think, where I could just walk up to a different team, talk to them for like an hour and learn how they do things and come back. I didn't have that personality. I was more reserved, more introvert, minding my own business. And that's on me. I mean, now it's a bit different, obviously, but I didn't have the courage or the confidence to do that. But in this, I think in this 1 year stint, this was the only way to go about things, which was being in front of people, talking to them, understanding their needs, wants, desires. This is all the people in that ecosystem.
Right.
So internally, like the founder of that NGO, externally, the customers, internally, beneficiaries, which was the hearing and speech impaired people. And not only I had to communicate with them, I had to communicate with the hearing and speech impaired people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was a different and tricky and more complicated game altogether. So, I mean, if I start counting it on fingers, the learnings are immense. Communication, confidence, change of personality, different way to view the world, visibility into how things work, how businesses work. My perception about money totally changed. And more than that, I started understanding like how humans' perception of money is, right? Because when you have to do fundraising from scratch, you see people lying away from spending like 100, 150 rupees on a t-shirt, money of which can go to probably a hearing and speech impaired people. You really start thinking. You really start thinking in terms of what is people's relationship with money? Like, why is this a very big deal? So all those questions got me very interested, got me very interested in human behavior, human psychology. And that had a very big role to play in where I am today, which is my understanding of like human behavior, how people think, psychology. So I read tons and tons of books, I think, in the next few years on this. But all these interests ignited in that year, right?
Yeah.
One thing I got super clarity on was that I want like a people-facing role in my life. I have to be in front of people and not behind them, which is why most of the coders in the world are called like back-end developers, right? Of course, there are front-end developers as well, and we are talking about the user interface here. But the point that I'm trying to make is that software development, at least back then, was more of a back-end sort of a role where you're not facing customers every single day. Even today, that's the truth. Some of it has changed maybe for the good, but most of the developers, most of the coders, if you see, you will see some common personality traits. They don't talk a lot. They're into themselves. They're coding all day. They're totally zoomed into things that they're doing, and they could care less about talking to customers, right? Talking to people who eventually will use their product.
Right.
This is why we have a role of product manager who acts as a bridge between like the customers, the internal stakeholders, and the development team. This is why this role exists. Otherwise, this role wouldn't exist.
So would you say this personality change attributed towards you taking that call of stepping out of programming?
1000%, yes. And more also towards what I did in that 1 year. And also, I think that what I've realized, I think in the very recent last few months is, as a human being, in order to succeed in life, you like, people have been looking at it in a very incorrect manner, I think. They're always chasing, I think, things that are very marketable and easy to chase. So for example, a goal of 5 CR in the bank, I think it is easy to chase because it's very tangible, right? Lately, I've realized, I think there are a lot of things that you can do in order for you to achieve what you want. And it's a complicated thing for me to articulate or even make anyone else understand, because even I
But
have
we can try. We can try.
Great. All right. Okay. Let's drill down one level. Over the past few years, what I've realized is one aspect, like one thing in my life which is common across all aspects of my life, right? Whether it's my relationships, whether it's my friendships, whether it's my career, whether it's my fitness, whether it's my family, or any other aspect of life you can take, right? Discipline is one thing that I've seen common across all these facets of life.
Mhm.
And if I start thinking, where does this come from, this key of discipline, right?
Mm.
I think it dates back as long as those NGO days. So, for example, I remember because Delhi was so hot in the summers, I had to reach 30 minutes before the class started
Mm.
so that I could just switch the AC on and keep the room not very hot when the kids came.
So kind of you. That's so kind of you.
And I had to do it via a very complicated journey because the office was 40 kilometers away. The office was in Rohini, which is diametrically opposite to where I lived in Delhi, which is South Delhi, Greater Kailash. So the farthest you can travel in Delhi, because Delhi is circular, right?
Yeah.
Right at diametrical ends. To add to it, I had to travel in a bus because obviously I couldn't afford anything else. Add to it, I had to take like multiple buses.
Mm.
And in order to do that, I had to wake up at a particular time. And if I couldn't wake up at that particular time, regardless of whatever I've done last night, all of these blocks start falling apart.
Mm.
So if I miss one designated bus of 6:45 a.m., the next one came at like 7:50 a.m. And the buses attached to it were 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
So one single 15-minute miss costed me like 2 hours of my day. So there was no scope of missing it, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. So this discipline, I think, carried forward in multiple aspects, in multiple years, in multiple things, right? Because it gave me like a lot of advantage in this year. And I'm just giving you one example, right? So how humans behave is when you see something working for you, you want to replicate it across other aspects of your life as well.
Right.
Whether it's showing up for my NGO kids or whether it's showing up for my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like the principles are the same, right? Why don't you show up 10 minutes earlier rather than 30 minutes late? Today, if I look at things, mostly, touch wood, I'm never late.
Right. Okay.
Ever.
Yeah.
There are exceptions.
Of course.
But if you remove the exceptions, I'm almost always on time.
Mm.
And that's one of the values I've inculcated for the past 10, 12 years of my life. The very aspect of which comes from this key of discipline.
Right.
So now what I've realized is now the main point that I was trying to make was that in order to reach your level of success or definition of success, whatever it is, you need to have certain traits or certain habits.
Right.
One of them is discipline. If you have known someone who's very successful in life and not disciplined, tell me their names, because it's very rare. There are a certain few individuals, I'm very sure, but it's very rare, right?
Yes, very rare.
Discipline can take you like immense places. I use it in my workouts. I've been running every Sunday for the past, I don't know how many Sundays now, hundreds and hundreds of Sundays, not missing a single Sunday. I just give you an example of showing up on time, and that boils down into like my work, my consulting, my family time, every single thing. Right? Like my dog doesn't miss a haircut when she's supposed to have a haircut, right? It boils
Which
down
dog do you have?
I have a Shih Tzu.
Shih Tzu. I have a golden.
Oh, lovely. Make them someday.
Yeah, we'll make it for sure.
Yeah. Another one is curiosity. So what I've noticed is, what I've understood is I don't actually have a lot of curiosity in me. This is a very recent learning for me
How did you develop that?
that I don't have it.
No, how did you develop your curiosity?
No, I don't have it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I
Or you're
haven't
still
developed
trying
it.
to figure it out?
I have figured out that I don't have it.
Oh, you
And I've
figured out you
also-
don't have it. Ah, okay.
Yes, yes. And I've also figured out how important it is to have it.
Hmm.
Like it is so important to have it. And especially, I think I started figuring this out with the advent of AI, basically, because I think the key things that you need to do to use AI very well is having a very open mind and being very curious.
Hmm.
So my hookings and my way of interacting and using AI is a little on the methodical side rather than being on the curiosity side. It's more structured. So I'm making attempts to like make it unstructured and more curiosity driven now. But curiosity is a big thing that I'm missing in my life right now. So these are the things that I'm talking about, these traits in life, like discipline, curiosity, right? Then a couple of maybe other personality traits as well. Like I don't know, being a little, I don't know, I'm not very sure if I should say this, but being a bit disagreeable is actually good for your career. And there are like studies on this as well, that disagreeable people are more successful than agreeable people. You don't want to take the needle so far on the left
Yeah.
that you are only disagreeable and super successful. You need to maintain a balance. So these are the things that I was talking about, that I've now figured out that I've now stopped chasing these goals. So I'm chasing these traits. Like how do I build this trait? Because the side effect and the byproduct of these traits is everything that you want.
Everything. Got it. Nice.
Yeah.
In 2014, I think, like, to quit your software job.
Yes, 2015 beginning, 2015
Okay.
beginning.
So did you have a job in hand? New job, or you just quit?
It was good. Yeah.
What happened after that?
After that, I regretted my decision a few days later. I went out for looking for jobs, and then I stopped midway, and then I called the entire job hunting off, and I decided that I need to first figure out what I need to do in my life,
Hmm.
and then go about job hunting. Because what's the point of quitting something and joining another software development? Which is why I joined that NGO. I was already in touch with them. I thought that this could be a good break year for me, right? And also give me an opportunity to not just sit at home and sob about it, but also give me an opportunity to at least be somewhere, do something
Hmm.
instead of doing nothing. That was the entire plan. Like
Right.
I have to go out and I have to do something,
Yeah.
because I did not know like the kind of exposure and learnings and visibility and everything that it would give me.
Right.
Connecting the dots is always easier. Every stock analyst today will tell you which shares, which stocks like rose 7,000%, but they'll never be able to tell you which will rise 7,000% in the next 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's always very easy to like do a back analysis and probably premeditate on things. I did not know back then, but if I look back today, yes, like that was the most life-shaping year for me, 2015.
2015. With Sound of Silence.
Sound of Silence, yes, the entire year. 2016 is, I think, when my new life began, if I have to put it that way.
How did that begin?
I joined a company called Zycus, and how I got into that company is also like a different story altogether.
What's the story?
We have time, right?
We have time.
Okay. So I think I had already spent like a year with Sounds of Silence. I had figured out a few things, that I have to do customer facing roles.
Hmm.
I need to be in front of people. I need to be talking to people. I didn't know what kind of customer facing role. I didn't know what kind of a job, but at least I had figured out this principally. right? And there were only so many customer facing jobs back then.
Right.
There was like customer support, then there is marketing, then there is sales, there was I don't know, you could be like a event coordinator, you could be events manager, and so on and so forth. I had uploaded my profile on like Naukri and all of these portals, specifically highlighting my customer facing the experience in Sounds of Silence, right? Because those are the kind of jobs that I wanted to attract. And one random day, I think after we were doing a fundraising event, I was walking towards home because I think the event was nearby only. Came an email from Naukri that you have been shortlisted, and it's a walk-in interview. And I was like, cool, walk-in interviews are pretty cool. I was already like dressed smartly and everything. And very fortunately, very luckily, like the walk-in interview was right across the road in a small hotel, I think in Chikewa. And I was like, what were the chances? I'm literally on this road and like the walk-in interview is right beside this, right? It's like, let's give it a shot. I just need to cross the road. I had zero idea about the company. I had very little idea about what really business and development is. That was the job profile. And I had no idea about like the industry, the specifics of what the company does. But I had like some time there in the hotel lobby to study all of this. I did. I Googled Zycles. First time in my life, I heard the word procurement and sourcing. I understood what it means. Then I understood what Zycles does. Then I read about the job role. Like I got the basics. You need to like generate leads, generate meetings, and do all of this stuff. But I didn't know the mechanics. Like I didn't know anything, if I have to be honest. And I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. It's a walk-in interview. Like the first round, I think, was an aptitude round for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah, I still don't know why it was an aptitude round. Like you get that sheet of paper where you have to solve like 10 aptitude questions. Second was email communication, and you won't believe it. We had to write the email on a paper with a pencil.
Oh, that's crazy.
Those were the days back in 2006. Those were the days. In front of like hiring managers, we were writing these emails with hand. And again, I did not have any prior formal experience in how to write emails. So I was like, just let me just logically write an email, right? How hard it can be. That there was, I think, casual interaction with the HR.
Do you remember what was like the email question? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was something around business communication only. I mean, not so
Yeah.
hard. Like, right, how will you pitch Zycles' services to, let's say, a head of procurement, right? And you were allowed to use Google and everything to search, because back then, even Google results in 2016 didn't give you like exactly the email that you should write that would work, right? It gave you hints and things and what procurement is about. So logically, I wrote.
And then you got the HR. Yeah.
Casual interaction with the HR. Then they combine all these 3 scores to select the final interview candidates. No, like the universe was with me. Maybe the other candidates were so bad that I got selected. Apparently, for the final interview, it was with my future hiring manager, Sam Thomas. And there, I think he asked me a few questions. He asked me to sell a water bottle, which was on his table. Those were the questions back then, right? And again, no formal training, no formal preparation. I just did the best I could, if I have to be very honest.
How did you sell it? Sell the water bottle?
Yeah, I don't even remember now. I don't know.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Maybe feature selling. And then I remember one of his objections was that this other guy is like giving me cheaper water bottle. That and you have to handle it. I don't even remember, in all honesty, how I did it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I think the universe, the stars were aligned. That's
Yeah.
the best. That's the best answer I can give you right now. Because only 2 folks were selected, one of them being me, and there was another girl. Which also, I think, gives me a hint that what they were looking for was natural sales acumen, if I have to put it that way.
Right.
Because I had not prepared for this. I had not even done any research on how to do sales or how to handle these kind of interviews. What just came to me naturally, I did there and got selected. which hinted me at that there is something inside there, if not like a, I don't know, a star-born salesperson.
Yeah.
There is something which probably can come out and, if polished in the right way, can make me into something I don't know. That's what happened. I got shortlisted in 2016 March. That was a big change for me. So first 25 years of my life, I've stayed in Delhi. Never
Yeah.
been away from family, never been away from my mother. So this job was in Bombay, new city, new job, back to corporate, a new function altogether, never done sales, new team, new people, new community, night shift, because we were selling to the US, night shift, right? All of this was like brand new.
So was it like a cold calling kind of a thing? Because
Yes, it was
Acha.
exactly that. So I was
Okay.
hired as a senior SDR.
okay.
And they had the senior because of my age, because most of the SDRs were fresh out of college, and with a very basic pay package, like 5.5 lakhs maybe.
Hmm.
I was very happy because I was earning much lesser in the NGO. Yeah, night shift, new people, new city, new life, new way of living. Very overwhelming, I think. Extremely overwhelming, because it's like you're thrown into, I think, a new planet altogether,
Hmm.
of which you have no idea about.
Right.
Because a shift like this in Delhi would have been easier to inculcate for me. Because at least all the other aspects of my life would have been constant, and Zycus would have been the only variable. But for me, everything was a variable, everything was new.
Right.
New food, new home, living on rent, sharing space with someone.
Yeah.
All your routines are down the toilet. You have to like rebuild everything from zero, right? Which is why I did not do very well in the training, if I have to be honest. Like I actually did very bad during your first probation period of 2 months, where you have to go live, right? You have to attend like a lot of training, and Zycus is into procurement and supply chain solutions, which are all the more complex. So first you have to learn that world, then you have to learn the business development and sales world, and then you have to learn the new life of Bombay world.
Yeah.
So yeah, very daunting, very overwhelming in the first 2-3 months, which is when I took up running. Again, shaped me and changed my life.
Hmm.
But again, looking back, did not take it up for this reason. So signed up for like a half marathon, went into it. And again, like things started happening, because when you sign up for a half marathon for the first time in your life, and you've just gotten into running, you have to do a lot of things. You have to fix your nutrition, you have to fix your sleep, you have to get up on time, you have to be consistent with runs, you don't have to give up, you have to see and learn how other runners are doing it. You really have to push yourself in a way that you haven't. And you have to make very consistent improvements over months and months and months. So again, all of this, which I started doing in running, like indirectly flew into my work life as well. With consistent improvements, grit, discipline, getting back up when you've like fallen. Again, it's very easy to today draw the parallels. I couldn't back then. But I started seeing some changes. And I think in business development, at least as an XDR back then, like one good day could shape your entire week. Because if you had one good day, like 2 good calls, 2 good cold calls, or maybe one good, I don't know, discovery call, meeting conversation, that gave you so much positivity. That gave you so much momentum that you really wanted to capitalize on it and carry it forward.
So was this organization like a sales-driven organization, sales-led growth?
Yes. So Zycus, because it's into such complex procurement and supply chain, the average ticket size back in the day was around $100,000. Today it's $200,000. The average sales cycle was 12 months. So many SDRs did not even get to see their deals close because they moved out. Right?
Right.
So it had to be sales led growth and not product led
Okay.
because,
Okay.
and you were dealing with one of the toughest ICPs out there, procurement, whose entire life depends on saving money and not
Yeah.
spending.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very challenging, very challenging. I mean, one good day, I could see the ripple effects, how it changed my week and month and quarter, right? And with these personality traits of like discipline and grit into the picture, you start building some kind of momentum and then you start getting noticed. So I started getting noticed by my manager, my leadership, then by the VP of sales who was on the same floor. You really start getting noticed in ways you are not trying for, right? Because you stand out from the crowd, your numbers on the dashboard are always there, right?
Mm.
And very good call conversations are being shared across the floor. Back in the day, we used to have those desk phones,
Right.
right? And you had to dial those numbers with your
Yeah.
fingers.
Yeah.
So when you're having a conversation with a prospect over a cold call and you're having a good conversation, people used to gather around your desk just to listen how the conversation is going. Yeah, so that was your definition of success in a day, right? If you're having people around you who are listening to a conversation, it was like a very good day for you. Then your email scores and everything. So the kind of personalization that you can do in your emails. Today, I think with AI, it has become super easy, super simple. But back in the day, I had to read an entire financial report, make sense out of it, carve out the intelligence, put it in a document, stitch that intelligence with Zycus's value propositions in a way that I could think of. Right. And then carve out probably some sort of like a text which could be inculcated in the form of an email and be sent to a prospect.
Right.
So I have written like custom emails back in the day that took me 3 to 4 hours for a single email. It's unbelievable if I look back at it. Unfreaking believable.
How many mails used to in that manner?
Yeah, so we were supposed to run like clockwork. I mean, they had figured out the activity metrics, 50 calls and I don't know, 30 emails in a day, which gave you meetings in a week. And those 8 meetings in a month gave you 3 qualified opportunities, which were on target. But I think when I started gaining some momentum, I started shifting away from activity metrics to like outcome metrics. So I used to be that rebel in my team, used to be always challenging my reporting manager in terms of like what is more important for you, output or input, right? And it's a very difficult question being thrown at a reporting manager because you can't not say output. Right. You have to. If I have to be honest, I took advantage of that as well, right? Because I knew where I was going with it, that you need your output metrics. Sales is all about money. Let me give it to you with not committing that. Why do I need to make 50 calls when I can just make 10? But I know these people will pick up. I know that these people can give me like those conversations and meetings that we want. Yeah, that raised a lot of eyebrows in the future. That also shaped my, I don't know, everyone is like in corporate, everyone has a label, right? By which they are identified, that this is a soft one, hardworking, creative, very creative, naysayer, right? So I was the rebel. It was like, this guy is going to rebel. But yet, I think I almost always had my numbers in place. Which is why even my managers allow me to do it my own way. And when I eventually became a team manager in Zycus itself, I always used to have this mindset that I am going to allow my team to be and act their own way if the output is in place. Like that's what I want, because if you uniform every single person in a way that you want them to be, organization develops, but the people don't. So the organization will get what it wants, but the people will never even understand what they want. And this always used to connect back to my days and my longing for understanding what I wanted and was not given.
Yeah.
And that's what human beings are doing. I think they're entirely trying to fill in the gaps and voids inside them, right?
Yeah.
Become the manager that I did not have, or become the father that I did not.
Right.
So yeah, in a way, I was doing that as a team manager, as a leader as well. And yeah, I'm even today, I'm in touch with a lot of folks or my subordinates, sharing some stories, sharing some success in there, inviting me to their weddings. It just feels so awesome, even if I hear a single good thing about what is happening in their life, or even if like one tiny aspect of it is related to those days when I allowed that freedom inside that team to let them be what they wanted to. It gives me so much, I think, meaning and pleasure in life, and it's exactly what makes me sleep with peace at night. There's a lot of meaning attached to it, and it comes very late. It doesn't have these very immediate effects, right? Yeah, no regrets, absolutely zero regrets.
So you got promoted, and how long were you at Zycus?
I was there for good 5 years. 5 years and a couple of months. I think I overstayed my tenure there. But great learnings, yeah. Great learnings. It shaped me into, I think, because I did the entire journey, right? So I was an SDR on the ground.
Yeah.
Then like an assistant manager and then a manager. So I got to see the entire ecosystem of what being an SDR on the ground is like, how managing SDRs is like, how the SDR leadership is like, how the coordination with sales leadership is like, and how the coordination with the sales people is like. So that's the entire ecosystem, apart from like customer success and everything. Yeah, that understanding of that ecosystem was very important, which I got there.
What were your top 3 learnings from Zycus? And top 3, I mean, both good.
Top 3 learnings, and what was the second question?
And what were the ugly bits, those mistakes that happened at Zycus, which stayed with you, and you ensured that you don't repeat?
Yeah, in terms of learnings, one was, I think, the number one, the biggest one, which I even cherish today and use it today is, I think, was the power of execution. Because I started my journey there working on the ground as a senior SDR. As SDRs, you are like Sipahis in the army, basically, foot soldiers. You don't do decision making, you don't do strategy, not in the war room. Making strategies on how to win the war, right? You're on the ground, right in front of like the enemy in an army analogy and the prospects in the sales analogy. You're just executing.
Right.
You know what you're supposed to do and you're doing it. And that I carry at least till today in my life, because I know the importance of execution. I've seen over years, I've seen with colleagues, with my own leadership, being so lost in strategy, being so lost in thinking, planning, that they forget what moves the needle is execution, right?
Right.
So till today, I'm someone who executes on the ground, and I made a conscious decision to never leave this, leave this aspect from my life, because the kind of visibility that you get from the ground, you can't get when you're 30,000 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Right. From there, everything looks tiny and a better worldview, but you don't know the reality on the ground. So that's number one. I think the power and the importance of execution. Second learning would be most definitely, I think, people management. And more than people management, I would say like human behavior, because all of Rohit,
I'm here. Please go on. Please.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
People management, I think it was understanding humans, because I figured out that in order to manage my subordinates, in order to manage my team, I need to understand what is in their mind. And then in order to do that, I need to understand like how humans behave in the first place. And which accentuated my interest in learning more about human behavior, human psychology, like I read books like 48 Laws of Power and Laws of Human Nature and every single book out there which has to do with human behavior, right?
Right.
And again, I still use every single thing I've learned about how human behaves even today, not just in work, not just in my career, but also in other aspects of my life. Like when I'm dealing with my wife, maybe I'm using it somehow. When I'm writing emails, very important things like mimicking your prospect, the way they shape a sentence or articulate something, or how many spaces they are giving inside their entire block of text matters so much that people so much underestimate all of this, right?
People don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it. They don't know how much importance, and everyone is always wondering, hey, how are you open rates like so good and how are your high rates? I mean, there is so much goes into it. Because now I'm just doing these things very naturally. You have to learn them from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I'm responding to a prospect, I'm responding in a way to get another response. I'm not responding in a way to end the conversation.
Yeah.
Always to get another response and also answer their query, also generate interest and also mimic their behavior and also provide them value and also probably get something in return.
Mm-hmm.
You try to do all of that with like respond to this email with Claude, right? Sure, it will give you a response, but it can't give you all these minor details.
Right.
Unless you tell it.
Of course. And the third one, so one was be committed and execute. Two is to understand human behavior. Third, I mean, you don't have to necessarily say three.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking if there was like a third one or not. I think rejections would be one, and this is like
Managing rejections.
Yeah, this is a very common learning across, I think, all sales rules that I've seen as well.
Yeah.
But I think it wasn't so much about how to manage rejections. Learning was more on that rejections are going to be a part of this job and rejections are going to be a part of this career. And if you have to be in sales, you have to be okay with rejections. I think that was the learning, not like how to manage them or how to probably hear no and keep moving forward. It was more of an acceptance that, you know, there is going to be this aspect of things that is going to be there in the career, in the profession you have chosen. For example, how they say in medicine or how they say in journalism, right? That there is no concept of weekends, right? You have to let it go. There's no weekend when you have to do like a heart surgery. And there's no weekend when someone, like a country bombs another one, maybe on a Saturday, and you're like, no, I'll report it tomorrow because today is my family day. So you don't get to do that. You have to make certain compromises. I think it was more of an acceptance. I think that this is going to be there for as long as you're in sales and you have to be okay with it.
Got it. So from Zycus, what is your next step? Where did you end up? I've seen your LinkedIn profile, but
I do a company called Wingify, and major jump, few reasons. One is an entire shift from what I was doing in Zycus.
Right.
In terms of what I had to do. So what I had to do in Wingify was build their outbound engine from scratch.
Acha, so they never had an outbound engine.
They were doing, I think 99% of their revenue was from outbound.
Wow.
Every now and then someone would do some outbound, get something which results into something or something not. But there was no revenue stream. There was no engine. There was no mechanics. There was no machine.
So they were a product-led growth company and they wanted to add a sales-led growth company.
Yes, you can call Wingify a product-led growth company. I mean, you can say that, although I still wouldn't say that PLG was the only motion there. But in the initial years of Wingify, PLG drew a lot of interest and it drew a lot of sales as well. But it was also a lot of sales led because Wingify had all three aspects of business: SMB, mid-market, as well as enterprise, right?
Okay.
And enterprise more or less mostly is not PLG. It's more sales led than product led in most of the scenarios. So you can say it was a mixture of like maybe PHE and SLG, right? But the more
So-
important, go ahead.
Sorry, how did you get this opportunity? That is one. You can keep that short. And I'm more interested in given this opportunity, how did you build this engine for them? And what were the results like?
How did I find this opportunity? I think I saw a post on LinkedIn that they are hiring for.
Okay.
I paid the hiring manager that, hey, I'm interested. He said, send me your resume. I did interviews.
Okay.
Like that's literally how it happened.
Yeah.
I think your second part was you're more interested in the 0 to 1 in Wingify, right?
Yeah.
So 99% of the revenue for Wingify was inbound. Outbound used to happen every now and then, but not majorly. Here I was hired if I had made a strategic decision, plan to accelerate their revenue. And now today it's making all the sense in the world because the major plan was the acquisition which happened last year. So now I can see what happened that year that led to this. So they made a lot of investments in that year. That year was 2021, right after COVID. And the second wave of COVID was hitting. So in 2021, they hired me and they hired a bunch of other folks as well. Those were some strategic investments in order to really accelerate their revenue because Wingify's revenue was stagnant for the last few years. It was a profitable startup from the very beginning. Sparsh and Paras are like absolutely most humble founders I've like ever worked with. That was the year which probably gave Wingify a new direction as well. So they made investments in outbound, they made investments in marketing, they made investments in product. But they had decided something, right? That we need to probably now move the needle away from stagnation. So one of the levers for this was going to be outbound. To start an outbound engine from scratch, I was hired and a couple of other folks were also hired. But I was laying, I think, the entire strategy and foundation and execution pieces for building the outbound pipeline funnel, the outbound pipeline engine. Very interesting. Never done anything like this before. I had done 0 to 1 in my NGO days, no 0 to 1 in like my sales tenure because with Zycus it was already at a 7 or already at a 5. We had to add bells and whistles and take it to a 7 or 10. But this was at 0.
Yeah.
And when things are 0 and the most important journey is that 0 to 1. How do you take it from 0 to 100K and then 100K to 1 million and then so on and so forth. So that first 100K was immensely important and immensely confusing and very complicated because there were a lot of voices, there were a lot of strategy, there were a lot of things that messed up in the very beginning, right? Where does the data come from? How do we reach out? What is the messaging going to be? What is the collaboration with marketing going to be? Who executes it? How big a team do we want? Where is this going? Where is this not going? Do we start with US? Do we start with Europe? How do we expand? How many people do we need? Who brings in the strategy? Where does the data enrichment happen? What tools do we use? Why do we use this tool and not that tool? How does this integrate with Salesforce? Is the sales team aligned? Are the sales team going to behave the same way like they do with inbound leads? Are they going to prioritize them or not? How does this shape up? What are our revenue projections? What are our meeting projections? What are our targets? What are our KPIs? Everything. All of these questions are unanswered. And most of these questions people didn't even know and figure out. Right? So the first 6 months was just laying these foundational bricks and stones and cement and mortar and I don't know, asbestos and whatever goes into building your house, all the foundation work. Tools, resources, systems, processes, collaboration, KPIs, the entire structure of the engine, how to make it scalable, how to make it repeatable. And again, all the more confusion with so many voices coming in. New people, old people saying that we know better, new people saying that if you knew better, you would have done it before. And all of that nonsense that happens, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for 6 months, but very exciting. I had not done anything like this in my life. Today, my wife has very recently joined Wingify, by the way.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Is she also into getting?
So today, Wingify would easily be doing, I don't know, maybe $4 or $5 million without maybe more. I have to check with her. But when I left, it was doing at least a couple of $1 million. Like, and when I left was like 2 years.
Through your outbound engine.
Yeah, I mean the outbound engine that we worked on and established and So we used to track our outbound metrics separately, right? Where is the
Right.
revenue going?
Yeah.
I remember we had reached like 1 million in 15 months, maybe, or like 1.5 years. So I'm very sure by the time I left, which was in 2 years, we were either upwards of or very close to like a couple of $1 million in revenue. But that was not my closures basically. So I was there to establish, to create their outbound pipeline engine. The sales and the closures were still being done by the account executives.
Right.
Right. Although the revenue was something that mattered, the entire funnel, the outbound funnel, led to this revenue, all the pipeline. That entire funnel and the mechanics and everything was developed by me and a couple of other folks as well.
And once by the time you left Wingify, your pipeline was like generating.
No, the revenue was a couple of $1 million.
Yeah, but your pipeline was generating million ARR in about 20.
More or less, yes.
Fantastic. From there, I think you moved to quizzes, right?
Yes. Then I got an inbound. You know how those inbounds work on LinkedIn, where recruiters are using the CEO's profile to send these personalized emails, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't know actually this used to work like this back then. So I thought the CEO is directly reaching out to me. Wow, I'm special. Why don't I give it a shot? Which I did. It was I think one of the biggest bets for me because the role was for a founding EE.
Right.
So for the past 7 years of my life, what I've done is more or less around pipeline. Whether it's working on the ground, whether it's managing people, whether it's being a leader, or whether it's being the architect of the outbound engine.
Right.
It was the pipeline aspect that I was working on the top of the funnel, never at the bottom of the funnel. This was a founding account executive role.
Wow.
I had to bring in revenue on the table, which I'd never done in my life.
So they had zero revenue.
Came from, they were at around, if I remember, $19-20 million in ARR when I joined overall. And I don't know, 95% of it might be coming from one single country, which was US.
Achha. Okay. So you had to expand to other
$120,000 in ARR, which was from other countries, but it was very scattered. UK, and Africa, and Australia, and all the continents, very widespread. So I, like, the entire role was about figuring out ROW market, industrial markets. And at that time, ROW meant the entire universe apart from US.
Right.
So we are talking about Canada, we are talking about Australia, Middle East, Asia, countries like, I don't know, UAE, Taiwan, Vietnam, Malaysia, South Korea, Japan, Mongolia, China, here, Poland, every country, single country in Europe, and then maybe Canada and some South American countries. So I was like, wow, what a territory! Like, can't get better.
Yeah.
So going like everything, right? I was thinking, you've given me the world. That's pretty cool.
Right.
But what to do with it? Like, I had no idea because again, I'd never done this kind of a role or an assignment, given the entire world, and someone has told you to figure it out, right, on your own. At this time, I did not even have those couple of other folks that I had in Wingify. I was like absolutely all alone.
Wow.
And then it was a revenue role. It wasn't a pipeline role. So I had to bring money on the table.
Right.
My incentives were linked to it. My job title was linked to it. My entire career was linked to it. Adding to the fact I've never done like closures and sales ever. But I always thought like how difficult it could be. I could always do it, right?
How difficult was it?
Very difficult. Yeah, quite difficult in fact, because of a couple of things. One is I'd never done it before. Second one is very new industry, education. Because this is edtech, and not the Byju's edtech. Byju's is more like B2C. This is B2B edtech. So you're targeting K-12 schools, universities, right? Primary users being like teachers in the classroom. And totally PLG. This was a complete PLG notion. hundreds and thousands and millions of users across continents and countries and states and cities. How do you convert them into people paying users, basically, and on a school level, not on an individual level?
Right.
So that was the assignment, thrown in the ocean, told to figure it out. And yeah, it was difficult. In spite of that, I think as a founding ICAE single person, I was, I think, able to hit $1 million in 11 months and 1.1 million in 1 year. That was the revenue that I closed in the very first year.
So you were closing it?
I was the only one who was there to close it.
What were you learning? Yeah.
A founding AE role is actually, why it's called founding AE is because there is no playbook.
Right.
There is no mechanism or engine or a process.
Right.
There are some things that you can learn from the ecosystem. For example, I could learn how the US is working, what their playbook is, what their processes are. But I couldn't use their resources. I couldn't use everything that they had built directly here because I had to figure out all about how teachers behave, work, how schools buy in different countries, right? Because schools in Australia behave very differently from how schools behave in UAE, in Dubai. So you have to figure all of this out, right? What works there and which GTM motion fits better there. For example, in countries where there was a language barrier, where English wasn't the first language, we are talking about a Vietnam, we are talking about a Taiwan, we are talking about I don't know, maybe Malaysia. We couldn't sell directly, which is why we had to inculcate a reseller motion there.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So you needed to onboard partners.
Yes, onboard reseller partners who could do the selling for us, and we do some profit sharing with them, basically revenue sharing.
Makes sense, right? Like tap in with the existing ecosystem.
Yeah. So it's called a commission sharing model. So you co-sell, co-market, and co-develop your product with them. They are your ground force. It's an extended part of your sales team.
Right.
They take a chunk of the revenue that's signed, and the rest of the revenue is flown to your organization. And they are the ones who market and sell your product. And they also get customer feedback from those customers to you.
Right.
So there was no reseller motion in US. Right? We built it from scratch in ROW. Today, it's one of the biggest levers for Quizizz, one of the biggest. Then there is direct sales that was happening in US. Now, direct sales could be replicated in countries like Australia, in countries like UK, where it's more school to school. You're selling to a school individually, right?
Yeah.
But you have to develop a mechanism to tap into multiple schools at the same time.
Right.
Then there was a GTM motion for top 10, which was from the district to the schools. Now, school district can have multiple schools, 5, 10, 15, even 1,500. So one of the biggest deals that I closed in Quizizz, and that was also one of the biggest deals that Quizizz has ever closed, was a particular large district in Canada.
Okay.
That was completely a top-down motion.
Got it.
Where we tapped into the entire district, and the entire district signed up for their, 85 schools together. That
Okay.
was one of the biggest deals I got, upwards of $230,000 in revenue.
Amazing.
So this was a different motion altogether, and you have to think and strategize in a very different manner.
So you're like at parallel, you're running about 4 motions at the same time.
Yeah, 3 to 4
4.
motions.
Yeah.
So 3 things I had to do basically together. One was bring revenue on the table, which is my KPI, which is money, which is where the incentives lie, which is what I'm brought in for. The second thing I had to do was figure out these motions that worked for every single region that was important for us.
Right.
where does the reseller motion fit, and whether there is a reseller motion or not in the first place, right? And where does it fit? And the third one was playbooks and processes. Now that I've figured out that districts is the way to go in Canada, how do I build a proper playbook so that we can tap into multiple districts across Canada? Now that I've figured out that resellers work in Vietnam and Taiwan, how do I build a playbook that I can make it work in these 15 other countries as well?
Right.
Now that I've figured out that one-to-one school conversations are very good in Australia, how do I ensure that we tap these 6 countries together and build out a motion where we can have these one-to-one school closures in all these 6 countries?
Super. Oh, that's crazy. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
How did you manage everything?
Yeah, but if I have to be very honest, the amount of work I've done in those 2 years in quizzes, I don't think I've ever worked like that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that sounds crazy. Like managing 3 to 4 motions. Like, how long were you there for?
Especially the first year. I was there for 2 years, I think 1 year, 11 months or so. But the first year was bizarre. Like, it was totally bizarre. One was because I didn't know what I was like really doing. I hadn't done it in the past. Like, I had doubts even if I can close or not. But yeah, I mean, I never used to tell anyone, but I used to like work in office, then come home, then work from home, then sometimes work in the night as well, then go back to office. It was 4 months was complete madness. And
Right.
Never got that out of my system, never got that out to my team that, like I'm working 24/7. But in all honesty, in the first 3-4 months, that was the only way it could be done. If I have to be honest, like with a single person, there was no other way. They were paying me like truckloads of money. So I also thought that I have to give back in some way, right? And then I was also working directly with the co-founder.
Okay.
That was a huge thing for me. I was like, wow, working directly with the co-founder has never happened. This must be a very important like assignment and project and like lever for the organization.
Yeah. And I think you delivered, right? Like you created 2 million, 1 million for them in 1 year.
1.1 million in 1 year, single-handedly. And then we started building the team. We started like onboarding new people, made them a part of the growth function and the sales function, and then the team expanded. So by the time I parted ways, we were at around, I don't know, 8 to 10 folks in international.
And why the move from jobs to now you're a consultant helping? But I remember in our last call you mentioned that you want to impact more people.
I think that's so. Rohit, this has, I think, always been at the back of my mind somehow since the very beginning. I think since the time when I left my first job, my engineering job, that I always had this, I don't know, kid of doing something of my own. And there's never a good time for it. There's never a bad time for it. I think one certain day you have to take a decision and just move on. So that's what happened with quizzes as well. And one of the key things also happened was the co-founder also left who I was working with.
Right.
Which gave me all the more reasons to probably, go about this decision of cutting these. And in fact, I was already consulting a startup by the side since a few.
Okay.
So that also gave me a lot of confidence that I'm doing this on the weekends. Why not like just give it a year and try to see if you can do this full time. Try to see if you can do part-time, full-time. Right? That's how I would put it. So yeah, one fine day you have to take that decision. And that was in 2025. I think it's been a year now. That was on end of March. So April 1, I started like full-time and part-time, and we are in April only. So it's been an entire year and a few days. Pretty good. The journey has been so fantastic that I've, if things do not go absolutely south, right? Like if the worst of worst doesn't happen, I don't think I will be going back to full-time corporate
That's very
anytime soon.
Got it. Anuj, thank you so much for sharing your life story with me. Like I feel
Mhm.
like I feel grateful that you went so deep into multiple aspects of your life, on why you quit software, all the decisions that led you to come here. Your non-profit Sounds of Silence story also was like, so I was completely engaged. You were telling the story so well, Anuj, like, really, really well done.
That's
Now
fine.
I just want to get into the playbook part of things.
Mhm.
I've written down, like, from your conversation, I've written down some points. Once the playbook is done, we'll end with, I have a couple of questions, like, what books will you recommend? Like, you're talking about multiple books, especially for sales and human behavior, probably, and a couple of other questions. So, want to understand. So, although I started with this whole notion of what is your playbook, uh, I think one thing that emerged from this conversation is you have created multiple playbooks, and those playbooks. So, how does one create a playbook, especially for a startup founder who's a programmer, right? Like, they're amazing people. Like, those people are so creative. I think they're, hats off to them. I've been learning programming myself, and it's so difficult. It is challenge to think in a logical format.
Yeah.
So how does one go about creating a playbook, especially in the early stage?
So your question is more about how to build the machine that builds the machine.
Yeah. How does the what is the mindset that is required?
Mhm.
What is like the foundations, right? Like,
Yeah. I think you're right to point that so there is no one single playbook for free, right? Because
absolutely.
if it existed, it would have already been democratized.
Correct.
So you wouldn't even have the need to ask this question.
Yeah.
Today, you don't ask me the question how to go from point A to point B. You have the playbook of like Rapido and your own car. So yeah, one very important aspect which people should keep reiterating again, I'm rehashing this again, that there is no one single engine
Yeah.
that fits all businesses because every business is different,
Right.
which is why they have differentiators at
Yeah.
how we are different. And again, I'm rehashing this because in the past 12 months, I've had so many conversations with developers who want that magic sauce, who want that playbook,
Yeah.
who think that a Notion document will change their life, who think that commenting like Claude on a LinkedIn post is going to give them some secret of life that hides behind a certain curtain that can only be opened by some experts.
Mm.
It's not that.
It's not a-
It's never been that way. And as far as I can see the future, it's not going to be that. Until and unless you yourself are saying that you are a different organization, you have competitors and you have differentiators. And that's what is driving your business. You cannot have the same thing.
We can't understand.
You
Absolutely.
cannot. You cannot. Okay. Great. Love hearing this because I heard this almost never. I'm the one who's like broken tape record for probably rehashing this again. Cool. So the question is, how do you?
What goes into making a playbook?
Yeah, that's the right question to ask as well. Now, I think firstly, the most basics are like, what are you trying to do? That's the precursor to everything because I've also had some pilots with some founders where their mindset is that an expert or someone with experience will do this for me.
Hmm.
And especially early stage founders, when they are in that 0 to 1 journey, that almost always never happens. So, for example, what I want to say is if you bring the best salesperson in the universe, you bring in a Jordan Belfort, and you put him in a crappy business that has no future, he will not be able to do anything. This is the second most important thing that people should like write on a piece of paper or whiteboard or get it tattooed and repeat that to themselves on every single day, every single night before sleeping, like a Gayatri mantra, if you will. That no single person, no single thing can change your business and give you like $1 million. Okay, that's not going to happen. That never happens. The precursor to this question is that what do you want? Because when you say playbook, what does that mean? Do you want a playbook for lead generation? Do you want a playbook to figure out product market fit? Do you want a playbook to figure out what motion fits best for driving growth and sales in your organization? Do you want a playbook to figure out your bottom of BOFU?
Right.
Do you want a playbook to figure out the very different aspects, the very different channels, the very different things that you can do in order to probably build a workable playbook? Like, what does that mean? And it's very tricky. It's a very hard question.
Yeah.
And it's again a very important question that people don't pay a lot of heed to, especially the 0 to 1 early stage founders, because either it's the investor pressure or it's their mindset or it's their upbringing. I don't know, that it's being hammered with sales, revenue, sales, 1 billion, one IPO. And, I don't understand where this comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like, who I want to become an IPO company. My grandmother also wants to become one. I mean, let's move on from there, right? And let's try to answer the difficult questions. What does that mean? Have you figured out like what you have built for whom, why? And I'm amazed to see that so many early stage founders haven't even figured that out. They have something. So they have built a hammer basically, right?
Right.
Now they are trying to understand that should I beat a nail with this, or should I beat like a human being, or should I break a car, or should I do like weightlifting with this hammer, or should I just throw it at someone and we play like catch, or should I just keep it somewhere and someone will buy it from me, or should I give it on rent?
Yeah.
And that's another problem that I've seen, right? That the questions being asked about revenue playbooks, GTM playbooks, they are not the right questions. They are not very holistic in nature, which is why I always get confused and I have to spend so much time on this question when someone asks about the playbook, right? Like, what do you exactly mean? What are you asking right now? Do you want revenue? Do you want leads? What are you trying to figure out, right? Now coming back to your question, you are trying to figure out a way to a mechanism to create these playbooks, like the machine that builds the machine basically. You have to start from the very beginning. You have to, for early stage startups at least, firstly understand what their business is. You have to do a thorough research. If they have not done it, you have to do it for them. But if they have done it, you need answers to a lot of questions, right? What business are you in? Who your primary ICP is? Who your primary users are? Who your buyers are? What's your ticket size? What's your average sales cycle? Why did you get into this? You know, the kind of questions these guys ask on like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Have you seen how varied they are? So they go about understanding not just the business person is, what your background is, right? Then they try to understand, are there any other founders or co-founders? Then they try to understand, are there any investors and all? Then they try to like slightly touch upon, oh, are you like from IIT, IIM and all, just to have it there. Then they get into the unit economics, right? Then they get into the packaging of the products. Then they get into the numbers and how the business is doing this year and how it has. It's so much. And they are not stupid, like they are like seasoned professionals, seasoned investors. If I had to invest in a business just on the hearsay of that it has been growing compounded, I don't know, a CAGR of 15%, I will just like go and buy a stock of that business, right?
Yeah.
I won't become like an investor.
Yeah.
Which is why all these questions are important. Like, yeah, sure. Okay, you are in cybersecurity. You have built a product which fills in probably this white space in the market. Have you sold something? So for example, I particularly never work with any founder in the 0 to 1 stage who hasn't done any sales.
Why is that?
Because the first 5 to 10 customers, the first few customers need to be done. If you're not able to do it, If you're
Why
not
do you
able to
say
do
that?
it, because if you're not able to do it, you don't have a product, in my opinion. You have an ambition, a thought, you have a skill. But if you're not even able to, and you can be the worst salesperson on the planet, but you can still sell. Because the way you think in a 0 to 1 stage is you build something out of nothing.
Right.
Right. And if you have built something out of nothing, it has to mean something. It has to be either for some person that is very relatable to you. It can be for a person like yourself, that I have faced this certain problem in my life. I've built the solution for myself. Now I need to find people like me. Right? You can, it comes from some kind of a hypothesis, right? And if it's coming from that angle, you should be able to capitalize on it and either, find people in your network, or find people in your family, or find people in your past jobs, or find people, I don't know, in your neighborhood who can at least do some pilots, some POC, some product testing, some sort of a way to validate your hypothesis, your thought.
Right.
Right. And that more or less usually converts into some kind of revenue. Usually, if you have something very substantial, if it's not a vibe coded weekend project, it comes in not very easily, but it does come in if you give it an effort, regardless of whatever background. Whether you're a techie, whether you're an ex-marketer, whether you're a student, whether you're a, don't tell me you can't get like 10 3-month free pilots. You can at least get that in market revenue, right?
Right.
You can at least market test your product.
Yeah.
If you're not even able to do that, if you're not able to do any revenue, if you don't have any customers, if you have not made any attempt, right? It's almost useless to me even engage with you rather than work with you, because you're looking for a magic sauce. You're looking for a salesperson, expert who will change your life. And I mean, there might be out there, I'm not one of those, right? I am taking a lot of time to answer this question, I know.
Please take your time. No, lovely. Please take your time.
Yeah, but the right answer to this depends on many variables, right? So what goes into your hypothesis, your product, have you achieved PMF or not? What gap have you filled in the market? Is this gap being filled by anyone else, or is it only you? Are you a cheaper version of something that already exists in the market?
Right.
Is your heart into it or not? I always assess this kind of a question as well, because someone, I don't know, showed up the other day and showed me some sort of a, I don't know, like a calling SDR calls assessment tool, which takes in MP4s of recorded calls and gives a assessment of how they have done on the cold calls. I mean, it's bullshit apparently. So it would take me like an hour to build this, and it's already inculcated in all the GOMs and the AWOMAs as a world, right? And it's such a tiny aspect. The person is like an engineer in Google, it has nothing to do with sales. You have apparently built a product for an audience that you have zero interactions with. You don't care about salespeople. You had no interactions. Like, why did you build this? Because I thought it would be cool. So he also came to me like his question was, how do I build a sales playbook? Now imagine, like, when you delve into these questions and you find out that there is nothing that you can do to build a sales playbook. You have to go back and design something that actually means something, or you're filling a proper value added gap in the market. So all these questions come into play, right? And based on the answers of these questions, you then try to figure out where the founder's mindset is, right? Like, what kind of a playbook, what kind of emotion are you thinking of? Are you thinking of leads? Yes. Who doesn't want leads? Nobody. Who wants leads? Everybody, right? What does a lead mean to you? Because there are different definitions of a lead as well, right? If it's SMB, you work on a lead volume. If it's enterprise, you work on a lead quality, right? If it's mid-market, you kind of balance it out, right? Are we only working on the tofu? Do you only want leads and you can close them? Yes, no. Do you want leads and you also want someone who can close them? Do you want leads and you want me to close them? Do you know what it takes to close them? Do you know what does closing and post-closing life look like for a customer? So then these kind of questions come into play, right? And then finally, after this, all the experimentation begins.
Yeah.
Once I have an analysis of all these questions and all the answers, like a Shark Tank sort of an analysis of the investor, then you do some. Then you firstly you figure out if you want to work with it. Okay? And if you want to, I usually go with a 90-day, a 3-month limit
Right.
to figure out synergies and everything, and if this is workable or not. And in those 90 days, what I usually do is my mechanism of building the machine that builds the machine is very high velocity experiments.
Mhm.
The reason for it is if I were such a genius that I already knew what was going to work, I would have democratized that information by now, earned a few $1 million on the democratization of that brilliant idea, and wouldn't have to work a single day.
Mm.
That's not the case. So the only way you can get to know is if you test out the market.
Right.
That's what good content creators do as well. Have you seen any content creator like whose every single post is viral? The answer is no, because
Right.
they do a lot of experiments, because the market keeps changing and shifting and its dynamics keep changing as well, right? You don't exactly always know what the market wants.
Right.
So you have to conduct these very rapid high velocity experiments, and you have to inculcate the learnings from all those experiments and inculcate in your further experiments. So that's the first 90 days. You build a hypothesis based on the answers, based on the objectives, and then you figure out, okay, we are going to test 3 motions. One is an outbound motion, and we are going to do only on emails. One is going to be founder-led content on LinkedIn. And the third one maybe is going to be we'll get an SDR who's going to do like all the cold calling in the world. Or maybe the third one is going to be performance marketing ads on Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
You build some sort of hypothesis and you test those out. And you test those out very rapidly, because I can't test out a hypothesis for 90 days. My pilot is already over.
Right. So, can you just quantify that? How rapid is very rapid? I mean, if the founder has to do it by themselves.
Yeah. So, for example, if I'm doing cold emails, right, it takes a couple of weeks to build the infrastructure firstly, right? So that's a prerequisite. If you have the infrastructure already, in a couple of weeks, I will be able to tell you at least one thing that is resonating or is not resonating with you. I will be able to tell you at least that, like,
Right.
at least that, yes, maybe administration and facilities is one of the right personas for us. Maybe this sort of a language resonates, this sort of a value, or maybe after 3 weeks I can tell you cold emails is not the way to go. I've tried mostly every single thing that could be tried in 3 weeks, and not just the responses are zero, like every single engagement metric is down the toilet.
Yeah.
So we are doing something very wrong. If we have the right infrastructure, the communication is absolutely wrong, or maybe what we are trying to sell or market is absolutely unmarketable.
Right.
There would be some signals, right? Then what you do is you try to capitalize on these signals. You try to build up on these signals. Basically, if you have one winner, you try to think from that winner and expand and build more hypotheses and find out more winners, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it keeps expanding. That's the exact approach I took with PatCare.
Right.
When I did the 3-month pilot before I joined them as fashion team lead. It started from one single hypothesis, built into something, and over 90 days, we just didn't had a lot of learnings. We had a lot of like tangible results on it. Like,
Right.
I don't know, some 20, 25, 30 plus good opportunities for us. So yeah, that's what it looks like. And every experiment has a shelf life as well. It can't be 90 days, but it can't be 1 day. I can't tell you in a day if it is going to work or not. I can't tell you in a week if it's going to work or not.
Right.
But in 2-3 weeks, especially in the 0 to 1 stage SMB, I will be able to give you some signals.
That's really smart, right? Like, because most founders, I know some who have spent 12 months trying to sell their product. If they had just done these experiments right in the beginning, even like with the white coded simple prototype, You could have got out of the idea really soon and not spent your precious time and effort and money.
Yeah, and a very good way to do this is like give your product for free and just test the usage. Like that's the most basic thing you can do. Like if your product is so bad that I won't even use it for free,
Yeah.
how do you expect people to pay?
Yeah.
And also use,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's like those shitty Bollywood movies that someone has to pay me to go and watch that.
Right.
But something like a Dhurandhar, I'll like pay significantly more and go watch it by myself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. And can founders do this on their own? Absolutely yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, I think they need to do it, like, especially at a zero stage. Other option. Yeah.
100%. But why I personally tend to like work with founders who have figured out some shit.
Right.
Because that also shows me intent. Because if you haven't even gotten the intent to do these very basic experiments on your own, I don't think the company has a lot of future, if I have to be honest. Like you are lacking a basic skill set of execution, grit, discipline. I mean, how do you become an IPO company if you don't have your foundations in order, right? How do you? When I started with Padcare wanted to start outbound, right?
Yeah.
But I'd done some outbound in the past, which had not.
Right.
So that was my starting point.
Mhm.
My day one was that show me what you have done with outbound, show me everything.
Right.
And even if there are absolutely like failed campaigns, show me those as well, because I get to learn something.
Right.
So they had that data with them, and that also showed me that they had tried a lot,
Mhm.
right? Not a lot of it had led to success, but at least that intent was there that this is a channel, we should experiment, we should try to find out, we should do this. Okay, this is not working, we should do this. Okay, we have given up. No, let us start again. That shows a lot about like the company and the culture and the founder and the founding team as well, where the company is going. So that was my starting point in Padcare. Like all the info, I was like, give me more. Like whatever you can give me, like just I throw it at me and I'll make sense out of it.
Yeah.
Then I started working on the email infrastructure. First thing I figured out was your infrastructure is like down the target, right? And it's not working. Your emails are not even landing in the inbox. You think they are, but they are not. All the email protocols were not in order. The messaging was not in order. A couple of other things were not in order. So then you start repairing those, testing out the hypotheses. And then you slowly pick the winners, try to build momentum and scale them, inculcate the learnings from whatever is not working, whatever is working, inculcate it, and then slowly and steadily build momentum. And then you'll find something that absolutely works, right? Double down on it, triple down on it, find out till when does it work. Does it work at 100x? The answer mostly will be no, but there is always a ceiling, a cap where it stops producing incremental results.
Right.
So you stop it at that cap and you make it constant. Now this is automated. Now this is a playbook. There is your answer. Okay? Where you achieve that cap, right? Where you achieve that what is it called? Crest or trough, right? Where you achieve the peak of the mountain, right? Where there is no incremental benefits from multiplying your inputs by 2x, 5x, 10x. That's when you processize it. That's when you build like an engine that sustains it like this.
And that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to also maintain that engine. It's not, at least today, even with AI, it's not as easy as that. Click of a button and it starts working seamlessly for the next 6 months.
Right.
There is a human in the loop even today.
Makes sense.
But that's where one of the engines is built.
I love the way that you have broken it down in checklists, right? Like, it is not seems like there is a checklist to build the, figure out the playbook itself.
Yeah, there is.
And then you customize that checklist for your business, right? So please.
Go ahead.
No, you were just saying, you said but.
I was saying that there is definitely a checklist, but there are a lot of variables in that checklist as well. So not every variable would be right for any business.
Absolutely.
but there would be some parameters that would definitely be constant across all businesses.
Always.
Especially what are you doing and why are you doing?
Yeah. What is the problem, right? What are you
Right,
solving? Yeah.
right. What are you solving in the world?
Great. Amazing checklists. Two more points that I just wanted to tap on. One is if there were like how to make cold calls, right? Like, because you started as an SDR and your journey started as making those cold calls at the middle of the night in India. Are there any learnings that you would like to share on
how to make cold calls?
Cold call, because your first 10, 20 customers as a founder, you just have to make cold. Either you go meet them in person or you pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah. So,
And is it the same for emailing also?
Yeah. Let me start with a disclaimer. I am not so much of an expert in cold calls as I am in like written communication, but I've done like my share of cold calls throughout my life, right? And I can give you like a few learnings that mostly always work. This is a big one, right? Like what my opening line should be and what that word should be and like what the structure should be, what the flow should be. Yes, these help, but don't processize it so much that it starts becoming inhuman, right? Because like the AI cold calls do not work when you're on the receiving end. Sorry, they do not work when you're on the sending end. They work when you're on the receiving end. For example, what I'm trying to say is if I create an AI recruitment cold caller, it's going to work wonders if I build it the right way. You know why? Because it's going to cold call people who are in need, who want me.
Yeah.
But if I do it the other way around, right? If I'm trying to sell something, I develop an AI cold caller for it, it's going to do double the damage, which is happening today. Because not only are you pissing me off with a cold call, you're also not making the effort to do it.
Right. Yes.
Firstly, I don't want the cold call, and then you're making it worse by having it automated with AI.
Yeah.
That's where I think the entire AI SDR concept, at least in the terms of cold calls, is I don't think it's making wonders.
Right.
But on the buyer side, it can actually.
The inbound works.
Yeah, I do see a lot of value in having like some sort of an AI recruitment cold call, like where a recruiter is calling the candidates who have applied for a role.
Yeah.
Those 500 applications that they have received in the last 2 days, and they are trying to do a pre-qualification.
Right. Got it.
Right. I see value in that for sure. I see value in if I'm trying to make a hotel booking by calling a hotel, right? That call is being picked by, I don't know, an AI hotel manager, right? Because you're on the receiving end, not the sending end.
Right.
So yeah, cold calls, one is like make it more human and do not overthink. Second, I think is tonality works wonders. The depth in your voice, the tone of your voice, I think that matters, if not more, as much as your content of the cold call.
Yeah.
And you get to know this as a human in the first 2 seconds, I think.
Yes.
Even that first hello, like how are you, is that Josh, whatever. If you're saying it from standpoint of authority, of someone who means business, or someone who will deliver value, I'm going to start reflecting in your voice. Right? And that's a very deep impact subconsciously on the receiver side.
Right.
Which is why you'll see there are some people who you wouldn't mind listening to throughout the day. Like I can listen to Morgan Freeman's voice throughout the day, right? If even if he's speaking crap, like throw it at me and listen to it, right? There is something like magical in his voice, right?
Yeah.
And it's a combination of a lot. It's not just the depth, it's the tone, it's the articulation, it's the authority that he comes from, right? All of those things.
Right.
All of these good orators like Martin Luther King Jr. I won't say Trump, but maybe Barack Obama.
Right.
All these like very good orators have this in common.
Right.
So that matters a lot. I mean, I see people focusing on content and first line and opener and structure, but they absolutely don't focus on the tonality and the authority and the depth of your voice and the tonality of your
Very
voice,
interesting.
where to take the pauses, how to, you know, the difference when you shake hands with someone grips your hand in a way very strongly, like a firm handshake versus a loose heel handshake, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
how Trump tries to establish authority by pulling the person
Pulling.
first when
Yeah.
he's not stupid. He's doing that for a reason to assert dominance.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. That matters a lot. That's second. One is, I think, have a conversation, and if that conversation leads to an output that you want, then it's very good. But if it doesn't, then it is okay. But try to keep it a conversation. Try to keep it a conversation where we both are speaking.
Yeah.
It's not a mechanism to throw your product or service on them. It's not. It's a conversation. It's a human being at the other end. You're conversing with them. If it is not a good fit for them, like, please shut up and move to the next person. I mean, it's okay. You're not meant to sell to everyone, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, those would be the three, I think.
And you were mentioning that how you are really good with the written form of communication, and
I'm better. Yeah.
better. And what would be the checklist for writing emails, cold emails,
Yeah,
to get
one
that
thought, I
meeting?
think.
And one point that's like, stuck in me, like, if your product is free and people are still not using it, it's a problem. And getting people to use the product through an email itself is like an art, I feel.
Yeah.
If I can get the checklist for that also, it would be great.
Yeah, buddy. So, Rohit, here's the thing. If I'm starting a fresh 0 to 1, right? And I have, let's say I am in that stage where let's say I'm in that stage. I don't think cold emailing is something that much.
Right. Okay.
Unless you have an offer that is very hard to refuse, like giving your product away for free, right? Because in that stage, nobody even knows you. Nobody even knows you, and nobody even cares to use, like, to even think of, like, if I'm getting a cold email from Google, I'll read it, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm getting a cold email from someone I have interacted with, I read it. If I'm reading it from someone, the gap that exists in the market that nobody can fill, I read it, right? But when you're in that very first stages of your 0 to 1, cold emailing would be effective only if you have something to offer, which is very difficult to say no to. Like, you are giving a free trial of your product for the next 30 days.
Right.
That is value. That is free of cost, less friction. I don't need to put in my credit card details. I don't need to really, promise something or sign a contract, and I can use your tool or whatever you have built for free and test it out. That sort of a thing can work, right? The other principles of emails, I think one I discussed was too much, like a lot of behavior psychology that I inculcate in the emails, right? The way it is structured and indented, and the spaces and the paragraphs and the flow and the wordings and the articulation and the entire meaning of it. It flows in the form of a song or a poem. So there is no disjunction in between those different aspects. And the third thing, I think, maybe can be like a very mixed, healthy balance, volume and quality. Maybe I don't want to abuse it, mass abuse it, spray and pray, but I also don't want to send like 2 in a day, because now I have AI. So I try to find that midpoint, that mid ground. Like with PadCare, in the first 3 months, we did around 5,000 emails. Intentionally. I mean, today it is very easy to send 10,000 in a day, because we wanted to test so many hypotheses, so many campaigns, so many structures, so many messaging formats, that it could only be done in a systematic manner. So doing it systematically and in a way that can be scaled with these tools, like instantly, smartly and all, that's also something I think that we can inculcate in emails for sure.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for that, Anuj. And just to wrap up, I know we are like 1 minute away from our closure.
Hmm.
What will be your top 3 book recommendation for somebody who's trying to build out their playbook or understand human behavior or how to say it? Top 3 books.
Is this question for like founders?
Founders, yeah, of course.
Yeah, firstly, I think start from the beginning. Yeah, figure out the bare essentials, the bare bones, the prerequisites. Okay, question yourself again and again. What problem are you solving in the world? Do you
Yeah.
really understand it, or are you living in a bubble?
Right.
Or do you want that founder tag against your name on LinkedIn, or are you actually solving a problem worth solving for? Right?
Yeah.
Do that checklist. Do those like basics. What is this product? Who is it for? Will people pay for it? How much will they pay? Is this going to be PLG? Is this going to be SLG? What is the sales cycle going to look like?
Yeah.
All the questions that you can answer at that point in time. And the second thing is, I think you should speak to as many people possible who are going to be users of it. Kind of what PMs do in an organization or the user research team do in an organization, right?
Right.
Interact with those folks. I mean, talk to them, show them what you have built, gather their opinion, they tell you something. That's also a phase that I think most of the founders miss. They don't talk enough in the initial stages, especially with the people who they think will buy their product in the future.
Right.
And then they're wondering why they're not buying it, right? Because you're not talking to them enough to gather insights to inculcate in your product. And the third one is, I think, to live in that reality where you think that your product only can take you places. Okay. A lot of folks, even today, I think, are living in that bubble where they think that without distribution, without a proper GTM, without proper channels, the product will sell itself.
Hmm.
If it had to, then you wouldn't need the advice, you wouldn't come across this conversation, and this is not relevant for you. I mean, if this is going to be go out as a podcast, I'm very sure Sam Altman is not someone who will be listening to it, right? But someone who has created a wrapper out of a GPT might listen to it. So
Right.
that's what I'm trying to say, that don't overestimate of what you have built, at least in the world that we live in today, because as far as what I'm learning is product is soon going to be democratized, at least the level of productization that we are seeing in the world today. AI is going to democratize most of it, and
Right.
that is democratized. What is your moat?
Hmm.
Either it is distribution,
Yeah.
or it is some kind of a differentiator, an ecosystem that others cannot replicate.
Absolutely. Got it.
One of those can be like customer relationships, because AI cannot give you the absolutely relevant information on the ground on the very same day in the tangible form of business outcomes even today.
Hmm.
So, for example, if I've built a product which is very relevant for marketeers last month, if I tell AI to update the product with whatever is happening in the market today, it's going to do a shitty job.
Yeah.
But really, it tries to understand what kind of changes have happened in the world and how to inculcate them in the product.
What are the 3 books that you would recommend to founders when they are in their 0 to 1 stage?
So I think 48 Laws of Power is one of my favorites. I think if you really want to learn about psychology, human behavior, human emotions,
Sure.
one of the best out there. And it's an old book now. It was, I think, 97, 2000. I don't know the publishing year, but every single thing in that book is absolutely valid even today. So you want to learn how humans work in general, in principle. That is the book. Second one is, I think, there's a book on negotiations. I've forgotten the name, but it used to be one of my favorite actually. Just give me a second.
Influence? No.
No.
Never Split the Difference?
Yeah, never split the difference here. It's a very different sort of a book. It's by I think it's by an ex-Navy SEAL or
Negotiator.
Sorry, not a Navy SEAL, it's by an ex-FBI hostage negotiator, right?
Yeah.
So he has drawn parallels between his workings with prisoners and those sort of people, and how those parallels can fit into the business world when it comes to negotiations.
Yeah.
Once went to some Harvard lecture uh, where they were taking negotiations and won every single negotiation on the table without even trying. This guy has worked with like prisoners who are going to bomb people if they don't negotiate in the right way with them. And if you can negotiate with those kind of people, you can of course negotiate with like business folks. That's the second one, negotiations. And the third one, I think on execution, I think it would be something like Hard Thing About Hard Things. That's also a pretty good book. It gives you a holistic idea probably how to go about thinking as well as executing hard things.
Super. Thanks, Anuj. And final question, or just a comment and maybe a small discussion. This is not for the founders or anybody. I found that through this conversation that you're deeply introspective, right? Like, you across from your first time you decided to quit your job, or how your non-profit has helped you, or how like various organizations have helped you. I felt that the kind of introspection that you have is like quite it's very pleasant to know. Like, have you developed it, or was it like a superpower that you developed, or how did that work?
Yeah, I think it's mostly been like journaling and it's just come naturally. I think in order to deal with the world, with the kind of life that I've lived, like it has been an important aspect, I think, which was needed for me to go about every single year. Yeah, I mean, some of it is intentionally, but it's not intentional in a way that I want to retrospect. It's more natural flowing, but the ways to do it have been intentional, if that's making sense.
Makes sense. Whatever makes sense for you, right? Like, it doesn't have to make sense. Yeah. Got it. Like, I really enjoyed this conversation because, like I said, I think it comes from your introspective quality. I don't want to say that, hey, this is the reason, but that was one of the qualities that kept emerging. The number two quality was clear checklist. Like, you have it on your fingertips. I don't know if anybody has told you that, but when you were talking about one organization where you had to set up everything, like, there are multiple stakeholders giving multiple strategies, you had like all of those points on your fingertips, right? Like, that was also something really nice. I really enjoyed this conversation, Anuj. So as next steps, what I'm going to do is first I'll just listen to this again, and then obviously I have built my own AI system to extract and put together. But the reason why this whole AI system works is it doesn't generate anything. It takes things quote on quote and it just puts the flow together the way I. So it has made my life really easy. Like, it has really shortened the timeline to put it through. And what I would need from you, there's one more thing that I would need from you is some photographs of your, like, maybe at your software job, at your nonprofit, with your teammates.
Sure.
I know you have worked in a couple of organizations through COVID, but any screenshots, anything that you have, it just humanizes the article a bit more.
I'll send those across for sure.
Okay, Anuj, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any book on your to-do list so that I can send one copy to you?
Wow. It's been a while. I'm telling you, it's been a while since I've read books. Let me think about it and give it to you.
So this is one book I really enjoyed. It's called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. If you are into music, especially like,
I want to be. I'm not much, but maybe this book can be a starter.
So this guy was behind really big artists like Metallica, I think for some time Justin Bieber, like massive. He had a massive impact on the music world. And he gives us like very nice, interesting thought process of like, how everybody is creative. So I can send this across. I'll send you like 2-3 options. You can pick one, and I would love to send one across.
I appreciate that, Rohit. Thank you so much.
All right, Anuj. Have a good day.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for doing this.
Bye-bye.
Bye.